Today, our guest is Paul MacInnes, and leads the Coalition of Haliburton Property Owners Associations. And Paul, thanks for joining us today. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, Mike.
You know, over the years, you and I have talked on many occasions about the environmental issues that surround our lakes and the steps that people can take to support good stewardship of this really incredible resource that everybody in the Haliburton Highlands enjoys. And with the shoreline preservation bylaw under review and study, it's still a work in progress. You've got this new community campaign, and I know it consists of many individuals and organizations. It's called BESHORE. And I'd like you to explain to us, what are the key aims of this campaign and this partnership?
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, we want to bring the community together. We want the community as a whole to reach a consensus on the things that we all can agree on and we love. You know, we know that this community loves its lakes. We love the 600 lakes that we have, and we depend on those lakes for not only all the recreational opportunities and the beauty that they give us, but in fact, for the economic vitality of this community. If we don't have healthy lakes, we're in serious trouble. So we want to bring the community together and move forward to protect what we value.
Well, Paul, the campaign, and it's been running for a few weeks now on radio and in newspaper and online, and the messages are very straightforward, easy to understand, and certainly very attractive to see as well. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the BESHORE campaign.
Yeah, so the campaign itself is, our goals are to very much take the high road, not to divide the community, but to unify the community. And we spent many months designing the information that we're using in this campaign and checking and double checking all of the information, all of the science, all of the facts to make sure that everything that we were saying is absolutely bulletproof. It's absolutely backed up by a scientific consensus, by studies, by research papers, etc. So it's a positive campaign, and it's very, very factual, as you mentioned.
I was reading somewhere about the important role that all our water bodies in the world play as it relates to a good environment. And that includes providing much needed oxygen into the air. And it really is incredible the role that our water bodies play in our good health as well. And I'm wondering, looking at all these marvelous lakes in the Haliburton Highlands, is there an urgency to all this?
Yeah, there very much is. And the urgency really came home to us this past year, because for the first time in quite a while, the phenomenon of algae blooms, blue-green algae blooms, which are toxic and just have terrible effects on the lake and the people around the lake, really came to Haliburton in a big, big way. I mean, we know that across Ontario, the algae blooms this past year the number of blooms was up 69% from what it was just a few years ago.
My
and
goodness.
In Haliburton County, the increase was even more dramatic than that. So we're seeing these algae blooms more and more frequently, and the forecasts are that it's only going to get worse, and we have to do what's necessary to protect our lakes. But in addition to that, if you talk to people that have been on some of our lakes for decades, and who are keen observers of what's happening, they'll all tell you the same thing. You know, they don't see the crayfish that they used to see. They don't see the fish populations that they used to see. They don't see the loons reproducing to the same extent that they were, and lower populations of minnows. And you know, I remember when we first came up here, we had a little paddle boat on the shore, and every time I went down to get the paddle boat ready for the kids, a couple of frogs would hop out from underneath the paddle boat as I moved it. And we don't see that anymore. So the situation is absolutely urgent, and we need to act to protect these lakes that are so important to us.
It is worrisome. There's no doubt about it, and I'm sure the vast majority of people share your concern. What do you hope will be the result of the BESHORE campaign?
We really hope the result will be the community coming together, that the community will develop a consensus on how important these lakes are. You know, they call it change blindness, and for many people, they that are not as keen at observing the lakes, they don't see the damage that has been done to our lakes already. So we want people to understand and to reach a consensus and move forward to very much have a community consensus that we need to protect those lakes, and natural shorelines are a big part of that.
So it follows quite naturally that obviously you want people to do something. What can people do as a result of what they're seeing in this campaign?
So we encourage them to go to www.beshore.ca. Real easy to remember. If they Google BESHORE Haliburton, it'll come up right away. And visit the website, learn about the issues, study the facts that are presented there, and then if they feel comfortable, click on the petition to add their name to the petition. And join the group of us that are all acting to protect our lakes.
Now, you were mentioning earlier, Paul, that there's about 100 individuals and groups that are a part of the BESHORE campaign, and these people are anonymous as we talk now. And why is that?
Yeah, Mike, unfortunately, some of the opponents to the previous proposed draft shoreline bylaw decided to take what I consider not a very Haliburton type approach, and they decided to attack individuals as opposed to attacking the bylaw or attacking an idea or debating about something. They indulged in personal attacks on people, and in one case, family members of people that had been identified as being in support of the bylaw. So unfortunately, a lot of the people that are in support do not want to subject themselves or their families to that kind of thing. So as a result, most of them want to remain anonymous.
And tell me, what kind of people are involved in the BESHORE campaign?
A number of different environmental organizations within the county, but overwhelmingly, it's individual people who care about our lakes, who know how important those lakes are. We're getting businesses signing up. We're getting real estate agents and builders signing up because, you know, as one of the real estate agents said to me, without healthy lakes, I don't have a business. And so businesses, individuals, organizations, you know, increasingly are signing up to BESHORE and saying we need to support this.
Well, the messages that are coming out in the media are difficult to avoid. They are, as I mentioned earlier, I think they're not only attractive, they certainly catch the eye, but the messages are so direct and so straightforward and so full of common sense, if I can say that, that it's hard to believe that people won't come on board and be a part of this. How will you know if this campaign is successful?
So, Mike, you're very familiar with this, but we get a report every Friday morning that looks at the metrics. We've had two reports, one from the first 3 days and one from the following week. And wow, it's been phenomenal so far. You know, we've had hundreds of people visit the website, hundreds of people sign the petition, and we see really good progress towards raising the awareness and bringing the community together.
And obviously, you'll be looking for a bylaw that makes sense and a bylaw that gets passed. That will be another measure of success, I would imagine.
Absolutely. You know, we've got very good people that are on our county council, and they want to do what's right. But they really want to know that there's a consensus and that the majority of the people are behind what they're doing. We know that majority exists. I mean, one of the goals of BESHORE is to allow the silent majority to have a say, and so BESHORE allows us to ensure that county council know that they have our backing.
And another outcome of all this, I would expect, would be for people to actually start undertaking some of the things that are being described in the campaign as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the bylaw is only going to protect what little amount of natural shoreline that we have left. The rest of it comes to people like you and I to say that voluntarily we're going to start renaturalizing our shoreline. And listen, when I moved up here, this was a former farmland. It was grass all the way to the shore. I had no understanding of the damage that I was doing to the lake. And it was only as I developed that knowledge that I said, boy, I got to get busy and start renaturalizing my property and renaturalizing my shoreline. So we very much want that to be voluntary, that people see it as something that they will do to protect the health of the lakes, to protect the memories. You know, we all have great memories from our youth and our kids being around the lakes. We want to protect the memories of the future. So that's what BESHORE is all about.
And we know that there's an economic danger that's attached to all this as well.
Yeah, it's you know, you'll see in some of the fact ads, we've looked at studies that have been done by Ohio State University, and you know, they show that properties, lakefront properties on a lake that has had an algae bloom can drop in value by 30% on average. And even properties as much as 3 kilometers away from the lake can still drop by about 17%. So that's number one economic consequence. But the second thing is, as you and I both know, if our lakes are not healthy and they're filled with blue-green algae and not with fish and loons and the things that we really love, our whole economy is in trouble. Our building construction trades, our realtors, our retailers, our tourism, on and on and on, would be really in trouble if we lose the health of our lakes.
At a very personal level too, our entire lifestyle changes for anyone that's on water as well.
Yeah. I have had the fortunate or unfortunate opportunity to interview a number of the people who were personally affected by the blue-green algae blooms that we had this past fall. And the fear, the uncertainty, the change in their lifestyle just comes across when you talk to these people. It is so palpable to those of us that haven't experienced that on our lake.
Now, the BESHORE campaign, Paul, it will be continuing for a while yet.
It will.
And along that line, is there any expectation when the discussion on the bylaw might actually start taking place at the county level?
It looks like it'll be the end of August before the consultant that's been hired comes back with their recommendation, and at that point, we would hope that council would get very actively back involved in discussing proposed bylaw.
Paul, thanks very much for bringing us up to date on the BESHORE campaign and all the issues that surround it. We really appreciate you taking time to do this. Thank you.
My pleasure, Mike, and it's always great to talk to you.
Our guest today has been Paul MacInnes. Paul is with the Coalition of Haliburton Property Owners Associations.